We shall not be moved. We're rolling on to victory. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved.
Die Wahrheit über Amerika.
The truth about America. Today you will hear about Hollywood stars with and without bathing suits, the slums behind the skyscrapers, the private business of the Secretary of Defense, the Bradley offensive against Germany, the other America.
When
the stars of Broadway sing and dance, millions of people look up to them full of envy and admiration. Do you know that these demigods, like all the other American film actors, are obliged by contract to let themselves be photographed in all sorts of imaginable poses, half-dressed or without any clothes at all, just like a cheap pin-up girl? The actors do not want to do it, but they are forced to. This is what they call artistic freedom. Millions are living in undescribable slums. 1/3 of America, so President Roosevelt stated in 1935, is living under conditions contrary to the dignity of man, insufficiently dressed, undernourished, and ill-housed. Today, 15 years later, the conditions are worse than at that time. The third has become almost one-half. The Secretary of Defense speaks about the American armaments budget. According to President Truman, 2/3 of all government expenditures are for war preparation. Secretary of Defense Johnson is also a director of Vultee Aircraft, the greatest airplane works in the USA. Johnson was the one who financed Truman's election. This transaction paid well, and today Johnson earns millions through American rearmament. This is what is actually behind all this. The American magazine Life carried an article showing the war plans of the American generals. This is what the Bradley offensive looks like. Atom bombs on Frankfurt, Cologne, and the Ruhr district. The Germans shall perish first. The other true America does not remain silent about America's plans for war. Henry Wallace said, "The utter ruin of our nation will be sealed if the United States goes on following a policy that leads to war like the Marshall Plan and the mad armaments race is doing." America's progressive powers protest against fascism in their own country, against race persecution and trials for witchcraft. The youth of the other America took part in the World Youth Games in Budapest. These are the brave American men and women who unswervingly stand up for their country's true interests, the sole link in the world-enclosing chain for the peace front of all nations.
Das war die Wahrheit über Amerika.
This was the truth about America.
The United States of America. New York glitters in 1,000 colors. The jazz drums beat, skyscrapers and big city rhythm. A good backdrop for the USA's biggest circus act. The biggest propaganda press in the world, unequal, unbeatable. Why doesn't the lion bite? Because he prefers Wrigley's chewing gum. The most beautiful legs in the world, on view only in the USA. Sensation, sensation. The airplane crashes. The car burns deep in the heart of Texas. Broadway at night, the greatest sea of lights in the 20th century. The world's greatest wrestling matches with no holds barred. And the decision down in the mud. The Trooper Review, the most beautiful women, the most beautiful clothes. This is the way Tom, Dick, and Harry see America. And that's how they should see it. For behind the facade, it looks very different. While dogs get manicures in beauty salons, over 2 million Americans are today without work. And according to official statements, the number of unemployed will rise to 4 million by spring. Another 5 million are part-time workers. Working men hungry? Unimportant. What is important is that prices don't fall. So away with the milk and the grain. Millions living in slums? Unimportant. The facade hides everything. Negroes in the limelight, but only as harmless, hand-picked ornaments. Their brothers and sisters rot, beasts of burden without rights in the paradise of freedom. In Washington, the Marshall Plan is announced. An aid program for the world? No, for America's capital. Truman's new budget? $2.5 billion for social welfare, $21 billion for armament. Economic and political enslavement of foreign countries, hunger and unemployment in their own country. That's the real Marshall Plan. The stock exchange, the headquarters of the true masters of America. Here sit the Americans who run the opinion factory. Many people believe the lie, but not all. Henry Wallace, together with the progressive forces in America, fights and pleads without let-up. The wave of strikes rolls on. Louder and louder, the voice of the people is heard in America too, the voice of the other America. Today it's still gagged. Today the billy stick still governs. In the name of Western freedom, terrorism versus progress. In the name of dollar democracy, police versus workers. But how much longer? The facade will fall. In the USA, as everywhere in the world, nothing can stop the people's victory.